Hello guys, welcome to United's Glory. In this video, I'm going to tell you 3 players that could help fire Manchester United to the title next season. 3 players, 3 additions to not just the first team, but the Manchester United squad that would strengthen us enough to wrestle the title away from Liverpool and get our trophy back, because make no mistake about it, the Premier League title, despite the fact we haven't won it for quite a while now, is Manchester United's trophy. In January, we brought in Bruno Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon, who has changed the fortunes of Manchester United, leading to a good vein of form before the lockdown break. Now we've returned, we have Paul Pogba and Marcus Rashford back in action, and we look at entirely different prospects, dominating a good team, Sheffield United at Old Trafford. And dare I say it, looking like a top-class team for the first time in a long time. Now, this is no coincidence. Paul Pogba returning to the Manchester United first team, playing alongside Bruno Fernandes. We saw some brilliant link-up play against Sheffield United that ultimately tore Sheffield United apart. Once again, Sheffield United are a good team, but we handled them the way we should handle a team like Sheffield United. The problem is the standards that Liverpool and Manchester City have set at the top of the table, we are still a way behind getting to that level. Even if we go into next season playing like this, I still feel we would fall short behind those two, I hate to admit it, world-class football teams led by Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola. But with a few additions and the continual evolution of our playing style, I see no reason why we cannot compete even next season for the Premier League title. Not necessarily winning the title, we may be 2 or 3 years off that, but ultimately competing, which is what Manchester United and a club of our stature should be doing at the bare minimum. We need to have the bar that high. We need to stop lowering the bar. We need to have the bar. Manchester United need to compete for the title. Otherwise, something's seriously wrong. So the first transfer that I would make is Jadon Sancho. The obvious one, really. The right side of our attack is the weak link of our team currently. Daniel James just doesn't cut it as a starter. Mason Greenwood's still a raw prospect. A few more seasons, you could say Mason Greenwood could nail that position. But ultimately, you want Mason Greenwood eventually playing as the striker and competing with Anthony Martial. We would be very dangerous if we could have those 2 options as our striking options. Jadon Sancho has been brilliant at Borussia Dortmund over the last couple of seasons and has proven he can play at the top level, and not just play at the top level, be extremely successful. Obviously, this transfer has been mooted. It's looking likely, but obviously Ed Woodward needs to get it over the line. He needs to not dawdle over this transfer, because this one, out of all the 3 that I'm going to mention, is simply a must. That is a problem position. It's a position that needs fixing. And once we get a player of Sancho's quality in, our forward line would be frightening. With the continual development of Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial alongside Jadon Sancho, there's no reason why that front trio can't compete with, say, Liverpool's front trio to be the most dangerous and dynamic front trio in world football. Of course, Jadon Sancho will probably set Manchester United back somewhere in the region of 90 to 100 million. Could be slightly more, but with the pandemic recently, I do feel that particular price may fall. Hopefully, Ed Woodward can do some savvy business and get him for a little bit cheaper, because this could potentially be an expensive transfer market, but this is an opportunist market, and we need to use our financial wealth to really assert ourselves and grab the players that we need, because we really can compete for the title next year if Liverpool don't themselves reinvest due to their lack of funds, and we reinvest when we're in a strong position as we are now. Now, this might confuse you, because I've got Donny van der Beek and Jack Grealish as transfers that could lift us to the title. Now, hear me out. To put it bluntly, Jesse Lingard and Andreas Pereira simply haven't cut it at Manchester United. It's time to let them go. They have had enough chances. There is no room for complaint. If Ed Woodward does his job correctly, he could bring somewhere in the range of 30 to 40 million for both of those players, which can be reinvested into a Donny van der Beek. Now, Donny van der Beek will probably cost somewhere in the region of 40 to 50 million, and we have a good chance of getting him if Real Madrid really have pulled out of that race. If Real Madrid want him, they will probably get him, but Donny van der Beek is a fantastic talent. Now, we are now stacked in his positions, but Donny van der Beek can play in defensive midfielder as part of a double pivot or in attacking midfield. Manchester United generally play with 3 midfielders no matter which formation we play, even though Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's favoured formation seems to be 4-2-3-1. Even if we play with more advanced midfielders, Donny van der Beek can suit both roles. Like I said, Manchester United are stacked in this area. We have Fred, who has been one of our players of the season. Scott McTominay, who's really coming along and shown himself, just signed a new contract. Paul Pogba, who is simply our only world-class player at the moment. And Bruno Fernandes, who has been sensational since arriving at Old Trafford. So we really are stacked in those positions. But Donny van der Beek would provide excellent competition, especially for Bruno and Pogba to keep performing at the level that we saw against Sheffield United. Ajax are a legendary European football team, but Manchester United is a step up from Ajax. So Donny van der Beek couldn't expect to just simply walk straight into our team either. And in the defensive midfield positions, he can play in a double pivot. He's not really proven as playing as a single defensive midfielder, but in a double pivot, he could play alongside Fred or McTominay or even Nemanja Matic, who's had a brilliant resurgence in the last half of the season. However, Nemanja Matic is aging, and it's probably better to take our time with him now and play him where necessary, similar to how we used to deploy Carrick and Scholes later on in their careers. On to the third transfer, I would be buying Jack Grealish, depending on how much Aston Villa actually want for him. If it's 80 million, that is simply too much. He is not worth that amount. But if it's more in the 50 to 60 million range, I think he would actually be a good buy. Now, don't get me wrong, in addition to the other two players I've stated, this would be a huge budget for our transfer window this summer. However, I will be deploying Jack Grealish on the left side of the front trio. Obviously, he isn't going to walk in straight ahead of Marcus Rashford, but he will offer something different from what the rest of our front trio can offer. I think it's time to let Juan Mata go. I think as great of a guy as he is, and how good of a person as he is, he just doesn't cut it at the top level anymore. Maybe in a different league he could cut it, but the Premier League is just too fast-paced, and he seems to have lost a step. And one thing I think Jack Grealish could really offer us is leadership in that front line. Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial may have leadership qualities, but I still think they are yet to be seen. But Jack Grealish has it in abundance now. He knows what it is to fight. It will add a degree of aggression and tenacity to our front line, and also great ball delivery. The rest of our forward line offers great pace and skill. Jack Grealish just simply offers something different. And if we are to sell Paul Pogba next summer, as it has been muted, we can always slide Jack Grealish back into midfield and buy another wide forward. Bringing in these three players, of course, would be pricey and would cost somewhere in the region of 180 to 200 million. But we do have a lot of players to sell to bring that next spend down. We need to offload Alexis Sanchez, of course. I would personally let Juan Mata go to release the wage budget, as well as Jesse Lingard and Andreas Pereira. And then, of course, in defence, we have Marcus Rojo and Jones has got to go. Whilst left back and centre backs could potentially be improved, I don't think they are problem positions right now. I do feel if we bring Chris Smalling back off loan, and if he wants to stay at Manchester United, he's a great backup central defender. Victor Lindelof and Maguire's partnership, they are both very good defenders, but they don't seem to complement each other. If Eric Bailly can stay fit, he can offer that pace needed to next to Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof, as can Smalling. Given our improved ball retention with Pogba and Bruno, and a potential Donny van der Beek in there, I feel there will be far less pressure on the defence, and they'll be able to perform more comfortably. And hopefully we can start looking at improving the defence next year. Of course, this will leave us stacked, but if you look at Manchester City's squad, they have players like Riyad Mahrez and Leroy Sané on the bench. I know Sané's been injured, but with their current team, they would technically have those on the bench in reserve, if you get me. Liverpool have an extremely strong squad as well. And if we are to be competing in the Champions League next year, of course, we will need great backups in reserve to compete at that level. Transfer window this strong would remind me of the 07-08 transfer window when Ferguson brought in the likes of Owen Hargreaves, Anderson, Nani and Carlos Tevez, really stacking the squad in terms of talent in attacking areas. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Do you agree with the three players that could lift us to the title, or do you think we need other players? Let me know what players you think we should bring in. Do we need a centre-back, or do you think we should be looking at a specialist defensive midfielder? Let me know down in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you love talking about Manchester United. If you think we can compete next season, hit a like on the video as well. Anyway, guys, see you soon.